These fabric flowers make great embellishments or accent pieces and are the perfect project for utilizing bits of scrap fabric. To make these flowers, you'll need some fabric for the front and back, some thread and a hand sewing needle, scissors, pins, a sewing machine, and the pattern, which can be downloaded for free at my website, and I will be sure to link that in the description box. To begin, you'll need to cut out your petal pieces. For this particular flower, 5 petals work best, so you'll need to cut 5 front pieces and 5 back or lining pieces. You can pin the pattern piece to your fabric like I'm doing here, or you can also just trace your pattern onto the fabric and then cut out your pieces. Once you have your pieces cut out, you can begin sewing your petals. To do this, pin together one front side to one back side. The right sides, or the sides that you want to show when your flower is done, should be facing each other at this step. Using a 3/8 inch seam allowance, stitch around the petal edge, leaving this flat bottom part unstitched. As you can see, I am using a machine to do this more quickly, but it could also be done by hand. Also, once I finish sewing one petal, I like to immediately begin the next one and sew them in a chain like so, as to not waste as much thread at the ends. Once you've stitched the edges, trim the bottom corners like I'm doing here, cut across the top, and clip your curves. Be sure though to not cut into your stitching while doing this. Once you've clipped and trimmed, you can turn your petal right side out through the bottom and then press using either an iron or just your fingers. Then turn the raw edges at the bottom inward about 3/8 of an inch. Repeat this for all of your petals. Once all of your petals are turned and pressed, you can begin stitching them together. Thread your hand sewing needle so that you have about 12 to 16 inches of thread to work with depending on your preference. Then take one of the petals and anchor your thread at the bottom edge. Keeping close to the bottom edge, use a basting stitch or running stitch and bring your thread out through the other side. You'll be gathering the petal ends as you go and closing up that end at the same time. Once you've sewed up your first petal, pick up the next, repeat, and continue doing this until you've used all of your petals. Once you've come back to the beginning of your loop of petals, run the thread through the first petal again. At this point, I bring the thread to the back of the flower. Then I use a back stitch to go around and reinforce all of the petals, picking up several of the ridges that the gathers created at this time. You could also simply continue sewing through the petals in a circle, or tack the edges and ridges to reinforce your flower. Whatever method you prefer, I do recommend stitching around several times to make sure your flower stays together. When you've finished, it should look like this. At this point, you can leave it as is, add a button, beading, or whatever embellishment you like. These could be stitched onto barrettes, hair clips, headbands, purses, vests, or whatever you can imagine. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, because that will help it reach more people who might find it helpful as well.